and welcome into another episode of Broncos Brawl. A beat writer briefly. It's like episode 3. Hope everyone's doing well out there in Broncos country, staying safe. My name is Keegan Hartman, and as always, you can find me at Keegan Hartman1 via Twitter. Make sure you find me and follow me. And look, this episode has been long overdue, and I am sorry. Apologies in advance for not getting this out to you guys sooner. I appreciate your patience and your understanding. We've been in a long hiatus, so now we're finally back. Of course, there was a lot of extraneous factors that went into that long wait, but hey, good things come to those who wait. So first off, this show is not even remotely possible without not only the man on screen, but also our other writer, Andy, as well, which if he joins this conversation, you guys make sure you follow him at That Kid MTZ. A quick shout out to him as he's been putting out great content for our Brawl Network website. So make sure you go find him and follow him and catch up to his most recent articles surrounding the Broncos Brawl. But likewise, the other man joining me on screen is our social media director. He operates everything Broncos Brawl, from our YouTube to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything you see Broncos Brawl affiliated out there on the socials. This man creates it, and he's got a lot of digital content you can find as well on thebrawlnetwork.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter as well at Noah Smith 735. He is Noah Smith. Noah, it has been a long one, my friend. I think like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I don't even know. It's felt like forever, but you're finally back. I'm finally back. Andy's still a little bit on vacation, maybe. I don't know. He'll be back next week, or he might be back today. I'm not for certain, but nevertheless, how you doing today, man?
Hey, Keegan, I'm doing well, man. I'm staying safe where I am.
Yeah.
Broncos football is officially less than 2 weeks away, so I am so excited about that. Also, if you're not already, make sure to follow us on our Instagram at Broncos Brawl, where I'm keeping track of a player spotlight countdown leading up to week 1 versus the Titans.
For sure, man. And sorry, I know mid sentence there, I was kind of admiring the Broncos while I have here, just like looking up and getting inspired. We are exactly 2 weeks, actually 13 days away from the Broncos kicking off their season, a part of a doubleheader on Monday Night Football, as they will be hosting the Tennessee Titans to kick off their 2020 regular season. Knock on wood, hopefully we can have the entire season and all 17 games, at least 16 games for the Broncos. But in addition to, everything with that, I'm glad you're staying safe. I'm glad that there's football on the way, and I know we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to get to today. But I know you've been putting together some giveaways and some drawings for our social media pages. Actually, one of those concluded today, and you have a very special announcement as far as that giveaway and the winner. Go right ahead with that, my friend.
Yeah, man. First off, we want to thank you guys so much. None of this that we do, we couldn't do this without you guys and your support. So we really, me and Keegan both, Andy, all the guys here at Broncos Ball, we want to thank you guys so much for that support. We just can't thank you enough. With that being said, though, we want to announce the winner of our jersey giveaway, which we've been running on all our socials. And that winner is Bronco Sister Tiff,
Yes.
also at AutumnSunW on Twitter.
Okay, congratulations, guys. So I believe Noah and the social media team will be reaching out to you guys. I'm for certain, and getting your information real soon. But congratulations to you guys. And I didn't say out of spite and anger, but it was because I wanted to get a drum roll in. So I apologize for interrupting you. I was going to try to get a drum roll in, but I did want to say, yeah, congratulations to you guys. Congratulations on winning that. I believe is a Jerry Jeudy jersey is what those winners will be receiving.
That is any jersey of your choice.
Any jersey of your choice. See, kids, make sure you read the rules and listen, because Keegan hasn't. All right. So with that being said, hey, we've got more giveaways coming in the future as we grow, and we are growing exponentially. So make sure you keep it tied to the Broncos Brawl Twitter page, Instagram, and Facebook, and stay in the know on those giveaways as we continue to grow. And make sure you check out the newly assembled YouTube page that will be coming with the addition of this video and this series. And we are bringing in our other co-host, Mr. Andy Martinez. Andy, how are you doing today, my friend?
What is up, man?
So make sure that you go find this guy and follow him as well on Twitter. He's got a lot of great content through the Brawl Network. You can find his content on thebrawlnetwork.com at that kid MTZ. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
At that kid MTZ on Twitter. Make sure you go follow him. He is Andy Martinez. Andy, another Tuesday in the books. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm excited to be here for another episode, and
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for Broncos football to come back, man.
Yeah, it's been long awaited as we've so previously discussed, but we got a lot to get into. We're going to touch on the inside linebacking position. Injuries obviously plaguing that position during last week and over the last 2 weeks, over the course of many Broncos practices. The injury bug has lingered, as Noah and I were previously discussing, and as Andy joins in on the conversation. I'm going to start the questions here, guys. So Todd Davis and Justin Strnad, the fifth rounder out of Wake Forest, both experiencing injuries. Strnad getting a wrist injury last Sunday, and then Todd Davis leaving practice due to a calf injury days before that. We're talking about an inside linebacking core that hasn't necessarily lived up to expectation over the duration of the past few years. You look at statistics against the tight end, this is a bottom 10, in some cases even a bottom 8 inside linebacking core. Guys, how significant is the Todd Davis injury? I mean, should we be overblowing this? Is media, Broncos Twitter kind of blowing this out of proportion? Fangio's reassuring everyone that, hey, Todd Davis is looking in better shape. But honestly, you get one injury, it could make you vulnerable for more. And of course, he was referring in his interview from Saturday's practice at Empowerment Field. He was talking about Todd Davis having a calf injury last season and having to go through injury last season. So obviously, injury is a lingering factor with Davis. What does this mean for the Broncos going into this season with the inside linebacking core being so thin? You bring in personnel. We're going to get into that later. You bring in a signing. We'll get into that later, obviously. But I want to start with Todd Davis. And Noah, I'm going to start with you. What is the significance of Todd Davis's injury for the Broncos?
Yeah, man, this Todd Davis injury is huge, honestly, in my opinion. Typically, Vic Fangio defenses take their biggest leap in their second year. So I was really looking forward to Todd Davis and Alexander Johnson playing together, as well as the rookie Strnad. We'll get to that later. But yeah, Todd Davis out. That's a huge blow to the Broncos defense, especially in this zone-heavy scheme that Vic Fangio likes to run. Those linebackers can be huge playmakers. And not having a guy who's familiar with the system and has the athletic ability to thrive in the system personally, it's a huge hit.
Mm-hmm. And mind you, this is a contract year for Todd Davis. We're going into now. This is probably the worst time if you're Todd Davis to experience a type of injury like this. Which, granted, they say the timetable, he should be ready for week 1. The Broncos do need him, but I mean, this really hurts Todd Davis in terms of sustaining this injury before the season. What are your thoughts on the Todd Davis injury, man?
Well, look, this is the second season in a row that Davis is out with an injury, and it's not a tiny injury either. It's significant, and it's worse because he's the head honcho of the defense, if you will. He calls the shots. He's the one that gets everybody in position, and to have the leader of the defense out, especially going into the season, it's a major blow for a defense that has high expectations.
Yeah.
You have Josie Jewell. I'm not sure if he's, lived up to the hype that Broncos country or, played to the level that Broncos country wants him to play at. So, that's a hindrance on the defense. And, for Davis going in, having an injury, starting his contract year on an injury, it's it's concerning. And I think I think there's a good chance that the Broncos might be moving on from Davis in 2021.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then you get into Justin Strnad. Flash forward a few days later, Justin Strnad sustains an injury to his wrist, and he's going to be out for the season. This is a fifth-round guy out of Wake Forest who the Broncos brought in, and they thought that this man, because of his athleticism, his frame, his stature, everything that they saw on tape from Wake Forest, he could have came in and tended to the Achilles heel, which is, covering the tight end and the defense against the tight end for the Denver Broncos. So, Andy, aside from Todd Davis, you go back to the Sunday following Todd Davis's injury when rookie fifth-round pick out of Wake Forest inside linebacker Justin Strnad, who the team had high hopes for going into the 2020 season, actually sustained a season-ending injury, as Mike Kliss reported the following Monday that Strnad had sustained a wrist injury, a dislocated wrist, among other things. So the Broncos go out not long after, and 2 days ago, they sign a player, which we'll get into momentarily. But what does that say about Justin Strnad and being a part of the blueprint for this Broncos defense so young? I mean, this guy's a fifth-round pick, and they've got so much obviously there is something there. What does this say about what the Broncos are, basically, what they're missing with Strnad not being on the field now that they've resorted to signing another player? What do you think Strnad's now that they don't have Strnad's services? Well, I don't even know how to say it. I screwed it up with that last part. I could have easily cut it off. And I didn't cut it off. All right. Now that Strnad is no longer available for the Broncos in the 2020 season, Broncos had to go get another player, which we'll get into later. What was Strnad bringing to the Broncos, essentially, Andy?
Yeah, so basically, it's obvious he picked up Vic Fangio's defense really fast. You don't, as a fifth round pick, as you mentioned, you don't get it's not common to see a lot of playing time, especially with the ones. So I think Strnad, he obviously impressed out on the field. I think he's very versatile for that defense. And, for, like you said, for the Broncos to go out and get another player just immediately right after, just so they can fill that void that Strnad left with that injury, it talks a bunch on how Strnad is viewed by the Broncos. And I think it's obvious that, Strnad has a place in the Broncos going into 2021.
No.
Yeah, man. I think, like you said, it shows a lot about what Vic Fangio, especially Vic Fangio, is historically a linebacker-specific coach. He's worked with some of the greatest to ever play the game, and I believe the Strnad pick was absolutely a Vic Fangio pick.
Mm-hmm.
He saw, the intelligence, the quicks, the athleticism, to play in zones, and he said that's a perfect fit for what I need. As far as what Strnad can bring in 2021, I think it would be incredibly smart for Strnad to take a page out of Drew Lock's book and work with virtual reality during the 2020 season. Working with that, working against Travis Kelce and, in a simulated video game. If you can cover Travis Kelce in a video game and you can somehow cover him on the field, that's great, No judgment here from Broncos fans, what you have to do to cover him. But in all seriousness, I think having a redshirt year for him to truly get adjusted to the speed of the NFL, where he doesn't have to be the guy covering a Kelce, some of the elite tight end weapons in the NFL. Giving him a season to acclimate and to truly learn and to soak up as much information, I think that's going to be huge for his development.
Mm-hmm. No, and adding on to what Noah said, I think it, having a linebacker that can cover tight ends, especially in the AFC West, is going to be huge. So if he can do that, it'll be huge for the Broncos. I mean, you're talking about the AFC West that has 3 big tight ends. We're talking about Travis Kelce, Hunter Henry, or Henry Hunter, whatever. Cut that out. Yeah, and then what's his face?
83 for the Raiders.
Darren Waller.
Yep.
Yes. Ah, damn. Should I just say that all over again?
Oh, fine. That's perfect. Yeah, as you had alluded to, Andy, Darren Waller, Hunter Henry, Travis Kelce, a thick class, thick depth at the tight end position. And then, of course, the Broncos got a tight end of their own, Mr. Noah Fant. So the AFC West is deadly when it comes to the tight end position. Speaking to the both of you guys, speaking to your, kind of what both of you said, yes, you're going to give Strnad another year to study the system. You're going to be able to see what Fangio's hybrid flexibility, versatility, you're going to get to see those definitions in play at the linebacking position if you're Justin Strnad. You're going to get to see, basically get an idea, get a feel for. It's really going to allow you to take a mental note of where everything goes. And honestly, since I think that their anticipation and their bar was set so high and that their anticipation was Strnad was going to be a part of the plan for the Broncos in 2020, I do think that Todd Davis is going to be out the door. And I think Strnad, because you have to think, when you go back to his days at Wake Forest when he was in the ACC, he was the play caller. He was the guy. He was the team captain and especially in his senior year. One of the main guys. He was a key cog in that Wake Forest defense. So I think that he can assume the leadership role. I think that if Davis transitions out, say he doesn't live up to the expectation, or you look back on these injuries, weighing out the two options, I'm definitely taking a chance in Justin Strnad. And you have to take into consideration that Davis has only been stellar. There hasn't really been anything that has made you say, well, he is deserving of these kind of numbers. He's just been stellar. I think there's certain things when it comes to certain coverages, especially you go into last year, you look at last year, I think it was a little difficult for Todd Davis. So this year is going to be much needed for Todd Davis. If he can stay healthy, there might be a chance of him staying with the Broncos. But likewise, I definitely see Justin Strnad making an impact in 2021 and being a part of the team plans. So with that being said, Todd Davis, Justin Strnad out for the 2020 season, but I want to maintain the inside linebacking position, that conversation, because the player that the Broncos ended up going to sign was former Steeler Mark Barron, former first-round pick, 7th overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of Alabama, played for the Crimson Tide. He was drafted in 2012. He's been in the league this will be his 8th season. So the Broncos agreed to terms with him a few days ago. Actually signing a 1-year, $2.5 million contract. He is a safety turned inside linebacker when he joined the NFL. Guys, what do we think about this replacement here? Noah, I'll start with you. Mark Barron comes in to assume the depth at the inside linebacking role. He's trying to get it adjusted. Of course, he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, spoke on that a couple practices ago, actually talking about how, maybe he was kind of outperformed for the position in Pittsburgh. What do you think about Mark Barron's services and what he could bring for the Denver Broncos defense?
Sure. Obviously, he played in a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams, in 2018 when they went to the Super Bowl. And historically, he hasn't been great in coverage despite his transition from safety to linebacker. According to PFF, he has a 54 grade in coverage with a 60 overall grade against the run. So not exactly the numbers you'd expect from a former safety. But that being said, he does have great size and great length for that kind of coverage linebacker. I want to say 6'2", around the 230 range. So if there's anybody who can take a reclamation project like that and make him into something, I trust Vic Fangio with it.
Andy, it is a Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Andy, what about you? What do you say on Mark Barron?
Yeah, man, I'm with Noah on this one. I'm not too happy with this pickup. I think it's definitely a project in the works. Vic, like Noah said, if there's anybody that can get something out of Barron, it'll be Vic Fangio. I think there's that huge misconception that's just because he was a safety, he's great in coverage, and people think that he's going to solve this tight end coverage problem that the Broncos have had for years. But I don't think that's going to be the case. He's actually also a bit older for his position in the NFL. So, we'll see what we get from him. But I think it's just mainly a depth addition to the team.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming we're on the same page when we say expect Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell to step up to the plate when it comes to the inside linebacking role, and just expect Mark Barron to be there in case for depth. And I did want to correct myself, and props to these guys. I had said that Todd Davis and Justin Strnad were both out for the season. That is incorrect. Todd Davis is expected to be back week 1, but Justin Strnad is out for the duration of the 2020 season. So props to you guys. Sorry for that. Sorry for the miscommunication. But nevertheless, so that really sums it up as far as, the Mark Barron signing. We're just going to have to see how this inside linebacking core plays out. Definitely a lot of blows, key pieces to this defense, and hopefully Todd Davis will be able to return for week 1. Of course, that's 13 days away. They play the Tennessee Titans at home, part of the Monday night doubleheader, and you can catch that on, I believe it'll be on ESPN. So with that being said, make sure that you follow these guys. Andy down below, you can follow him on Twitter at ThatKidMTZ, and then over to my that way you can follow Noah Smith at Noah Smith 735. Sorry guys, Zoom's got me directionally challenged. And last but certainly not least, make sure you find me and follow me on Twitter right here, this guy, at Keegan Hartman 1. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Broncos Brawl Briefly. We hope to see you next episode, guys. Take care.